My elder sister ran away from home on her wedding night. My father angrily threw all her dowry into the upstairs room, locked it, and declared, "If anyone dares to open this room, they will see my dead face." Terrified, no one in the family dared to go near that room for years. One night, I saw my father taking a glass of milk into that very room. Out of curiosity, I quietly followed him and peeked inside. What I saw shook me to my core. My name is Mansi, and I live in Allahabad. My life has been full of strange events, where I had to bear the burden of someone else's mistakes. We were three siblings, two sisters and a younger brother. My elder sister Ria was beautiful, composed, and the apple of my father's eye. I loved my sister dearly and always wanted to be like her. If she needed dough, I would insist on needing to. If she cooked and my father praised her food, I would make it my mission to cook something too. This, however, was my biggest mistake. My father often told Ria, "You must tread carefully because your younger siblings imitate you." Ria was flawless in my father's eyes, but time eventually proved that no one is perfect. After all, my sister was human too, capable of both right and wrong. As I mentioned, my sister was extraordinarily beautiful. Once she completed her graduation, marriage proposals started flooding in from all directions. It seemed like a competition among relatives to make her their daughter-in-law. They began frequenting our house without any real reason. My father, worried about offending one family by choosing another, decided to marry Ria off to someone outside our circle of relatives. Perhaps my father didn't realize at the time what a grave mistake he was making. He should have sat Ria down and tried to understand her feelings before making such a crucial decision about her life. He could have placed a hand on her head and asked, "Do you have any dreams for your future, my child? If you feel shy to tell me, you can confide in your mother." But my father didn't make the slightest effort to learn anyone's opinion in this matter. Instead, he discussed it with someone outside and finalized Ria's engagement. The arrangement was decided solely between the men involved. One day, my father came home and told my mother, "I've fixed Ria's marriage. They are good, wealthy people who will keep her happy." My mother was completely silent, as if struck by lightning. Not just my mother, but we siblings were also shaken. The three of us sat in our room, exchanging puzzled glances, asking silently why and how this had happened. The next day, my mother came to our room and told Ria to dress nicely because the groom's family was coming to see her. Ria couldn't hold back her frustration and said, "I never expected such a decision from Papa." My mother was taken aback and grabbed Ria's hand, saying, "My child, tell me if there's someone else you like or if someone has promised to marry you. I assure you that if your choice is good, I'll get you married where you want." But Ria shook her head and replied, "No, it's nothing like that. Still, I feel strange about this marriage, as if it won't bring happiness but will ruin my life." My mother was heartbroken to hear this and scolded her, saying, "How could you say such a thing without thinking about how it would affect your mother's heart?" The groom's family came to see Ria that evening. There was an elderly woman and a young girl who explained that the groom's mother was in a coma, so the grandmother and sister had come instead. My mother took Ria and me, Mansi, along with her to meet them. The groom's grandmother was very affectionate toward Ria, and the sister seemed pleasant too. She even started calling me sister-in-law from that day onward. Before leaving, the grandmother gave some money to Ria as a token of love. To be honest, Mansi, I felt a great sense of relief in my heart. Tell me, Ria, what's your opinion? Elder sister was so embarrassed that her cheeks turned completely red. She said, "Mom, I have no objection to this relationship." Then it was as if a wave of happiness spread in our home. No one knew that this happiness was soon going to turn into sorrow. Everything was going so well, and nothing seemed out of place. Even she was happily participating in every preparation. She was packing everything related to her in her bag. She even chose her own shoes. Not just that, she also selected the beauty parlor for her wedding day herself. Everything seemed fine, and no one could even imagine what she had been planning in her heart. The family was overjoyed. I had already arranged the traditional drum celebration a week before. Mom even stopped me saying, "You don't play the dholki this early before a girl's wedding." But I didn't listen. We played the dholki so much, and she used to enjoy it a lot. She even requested her favorite songs to be sung. I always felt that if it wasn't for her shyness, she might have joined us in singing as well. Anyway, time passed, and the day of my sister's wedding arrived. She got ready at a very expensive parlor and wore her favorite lehenga. A little later, the groom's wedding procession also arrived. When I saw the groom, my mouth remained wide open in amazement. The groom was extremely handsome and charming. I thought to myself, let me tell that she's marrying a prince. I rushed to her room, but she wasn't there. I was shocked. Just a moment ago, I had left her in the room, so where could she have gone? Worried, I went to Mom's room to look for her, but it was empty too. My anxiety began to grow. I quickly ran outside and started looking for Mom. She was busy attending to the guests. I grabbed her hand and pulled her aside, asking, "Mom, where's Mansi?" Mom replied, "She must be in her room." I said, "She's not in her room either." Mom shook off my hand and said, "She must be around somewhere. Let me meet the guests." She sounded so calm, as if nothing could possibly go wrong. That's when I grabbed Mom's hand and shook her, saying, "Mom, I'm really scared." Mom became alarmed too. She said, "Let me put your fears to rest." Mom came with me, and we searched for her room by room, but she was nowhere to be found. Mom's face turned pale. Meanwhile, the time for the wedding garland exchange ceremony had come, and people began calling for her. Dad entered the room, his eyes red, probably from the sadness of seeing his daughter leave after her wedding. Suddenly, the daughter he adored so much shattered his honor. Dad said, "Hurry up, take Mansi to the Jaimala. It's time." Mom, crying, said, "Kapil, Mansi is missing." Dad looked at Mom in shock and asked, "What do you mean by Mansi is missing? She must be here somewhere." Crying, Mom said, "I've searched every corner of the house." Dad clutched his chest and broke down, wailing, "Kamla, now my honor will be ruined. No one can save me from this disgrace. Tell me, what should I do now? How can I face the people? How can I go and tell the groom's family to take their procession back because my daughter has humiliated me?" Mom was crying as well. Then she said, "Kapil, you lie down on the bed. I'll make up some excuse that my husband's health has deteriorated, and in such a situation, we cannot send our daughter off. I'll beg them to take the Bharat back for now and come later for a simple ceremony to take their bride." Rumors began to spread everywhere. Mom locked herself in a room. People were talking in hushed voices, and we had no answers to their questions. That's why we all stayed huddled together in a single room. We had never imagined that we'd have to face such disgrace because of Mansi. Mom said, "Kapil, if you stay like this, your health will deteriorate. Let the child help you." Dad retorted, "Don't you even talk, Kamla. If you cared about me, you would have raised our daughters better." Poor Mom felt utterly humiliated. Dad threw all the wedding items into the room upstairs and locked it, saying, "From now on, if anyone goes there, they'll have to see my dead face first." After that, our house became a place of strange tension, where we all avoided looking each other in the eye. Dad used to cry secretly, hiding from all of us. When he would come downstairs, he looked exhausted, his eyes red. Mom used to say, "Your dad cries secretly on the terrace." We thought the matter of my elder sister's wedding was over, but a month later, we got a call from the groom's family. Arjun's grandmother said, "We didn't talk to you for a month because we were upset that you sent the wedding procession back. But after thinking calmly, we realized you might have had your reasons. Maybe your elder daughter refused the alliance, and to save your reputation, you made up the excuse of Kapil's illness. If that's the case, we don't mind. If you agree, please consider giving us your younger daughter's hand in marriage. We've looked for alliances elsewhere, but we haven't found anyone like your children. Your family impressed us, and we want to establish some sort of relationship with you." Mom replied, "Okay, let me talk to Kapil and get back to you." She hung up the phone and turned to me, asking, "Riya, if you agree, shall we accept this proposal?" I shrugged my shoulders and said, after elder sister left, the way dad has made my life miserable, looking at me with such hatred, I just want to leave this house. I don't even want to return. Mom hugged me and started crying. Dear, it's our fate to suffer punishment for someone else's deeds. It happened to your mother, and now it's happening to you. I wish your destiny would change, but what can I do? I'm helpless, my hands are tied. Mom was so broken that I had to become her strength. I reassured her, saying, Mom, don't be upset. Everything will get better with God's will. I went to my room as it was the time Dad usually returned home. My heart was beating strangely, as today my fate would be decided. When the door opened, I sat by my window. Dad entered the house, looked around, and seeing the courtyard empty, quietly went to the kitchen. I was surprised by his cautious behavior. A little later, he returned from the kitchen holding a glass of milk. He was looking around carefully, as if executing some clever plan. He climbed the stairs and went to the terrace, leaving me completely baffled. What was this? It seemed like a simple thing, yet Dad's secretive manner made it special. I also wondered why Mom didn't come out of her room after Dad arrived, as she usually left everything to attend to him. She would ask if he wanted food and prepare fresh bread for him. Curious, I tiptoed into Mom's room and found her sleeping. After about half an hour, Dad came down from the terrace, looking strangely unsettled. I watched all this from my window. Mom then told Dad about the call from the boy's family and their proposal for the younger daughter. Dad immediately threw his plate of food and roared in anger, saying, Tell them my daughter's fate hasn't fallen so low that she would marry into such a shameless family. I was shocked, and so was Mom. She asked, Kapil, what do you mean? Are they not good people? Dad shook his head and replied, From now on, don't answer their calls. Angrily, Mom retorted, You had so much confidence in your own judgment, saying women have less sense. How could you make such a big mistake? You almost gave Mansi's hand in marriage to such people. Aren't they the bad ones? Dad stormed out of the house, slamming doors on his way. Mom broke down in tears and said, Kapil, you've ruined my life. What else can I say to you? Whenever Dad was home, I stayed in my room. Mom, on the other hand, was always consumed with Mansi's sorrow. My brother would spend most of his time outside, going from school to tuition and then to play cricket, returning home late at night. It seemed like he, too, was trying to escape the tense atmosphere at home. Now, I often saw Dad taking milk to the terrace secretly. It was hard to understand why he used to take a glass of milk to the terrace. This thought began troubling me so much that I couldn't sleep. I started thinking about Mansi all day. Mansi was a very good friend too. I wish she hadn't taken such a drastic step. The night had grown very dark, and the barking of dogs could be heard in the distance. I got up and sat by my window, feeling a strange uneasiness, as if someone was wandering in our courtyard. I looked closely and saw it wasn't anyone else but my father. I was startled and felt as if he was carrying a heavy burden. For the first time, I felt immense pity for him. The room where my father had kept Mansi D's dowry items was open, and there was light coming from it. As I moved closer, I saw the door was slightly ajar, so I hid and peeked inside. To my shock, Mansi D was sitting there. Seeing this, I started trembling with fear. My father was feeding her morsels silently, with tears streaming down their faces. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. After a long silence, my father spoke. You are not my biological daughter. Mansi D burst out yelling, Is this why you're doing this to me? Because I'm not your real daughter? Would you have done this horrible thing to Ria? Father quickly responded, Mansi, I love you a lot, but you know I could never have done this with Ria. But I feared Ria might suspect me, so I never stayed long on the terrace. Tonight, while everyone is asleep, I'll tell you everything. Mansi, you and Ria are not siblings. I had an elder sister who was 7 years older than me. She got married first. After her marriage, silence fell over our house, so it was decided that I'd marry soon. My family chose Kamla for me, and our marriage was arranged. Those were the days when tragedy struck our family. My sister returned home as a widow, carrying a baby girl just 4 or 5 months old. Her in laws were cruel, so she couldn't take care of the child. Kamla took you in with open arms and showered you with so much love that I forgot whether you were my daughter or my niece. When you started speaking, you called Kamla your mother and your biological mother as your aunt. Things settled, and we began looking for a match for your mother. My sister suggested a man and asked us to arrange her marriage with him. Father assigned me the task of investigating the man, and I found he was a fraud. Still, I always worried you might take after your mother. That thought terrified me. I hastily arranged your marriage. The groom's mother was in a coma at the time, but his grandmother and sister approved. I thought it would be fine. But on your wedding day, the groom's mother recovered and came to the wedding. Do you know who she was? My sister, your biological mother. That meant the groom was your brother. Seeing this, I was devastated. I called you to the terrace to explain everything and locked you in the room there. I planned to tell Kamla the truth by morning, but then remembered how I stopped your mother's marriage, forcing her to leave home. I feared you might run away too. I locked you here to protect you. Don't think I confined you because I don't love you as my daughter. Ever since I locked you away, I've distanced myself from Ria as well. I've been strict with her to keep her away from this truth. Mansi Dee suddenly snapped out of her thoughts and said, If I had run away, your honor would have been ruined. But locking me here has done the same thing. People must already be gossiping that Mansi ran away, which is why the groom left without the wedding. As they continued talking, the temple bells rang for the morning prayers. Father said, Mansi, forgive me. I must go now before someone wakes up. I stepped forward and said, I will not allow any more injustice to my sister. Why should she suffer for her mother's mistakes? Everyone faces consequences for their actions, so why did you punish Dee like this? My father, startled, quickly went downstairs. I took Mansi Dee's hand and brought her down as well. Father, now ashamed, apologized repeatedly. We siblings then confronted him, holding him accountable. Mother acted as the judge. Father cried and begged for forgiveness, and Mansi Dee was the first to forgive him. She even convinced us to do the same. Everything slowly returned to normal. Father allowed Mansi Dee to meet her biological mother, and soon a good match was found for her. We're hopeful that our tough times are behind us and that only happiness awaits us in the future. This is a motivational story, but please never run away from home. Always share your feelings with your parents. They may agree with you because parents always want the best for their children.